Do you think that the Browns will listen to and potentially talk about trading Odell Beckham Jr.? That makes no sense. Part of his contract is guaranteed because of the injury. So salary cap casualty ain't going to happen for Odell Beckham Jr. Do you think they engage in some serious conversations about potentially trading him? And not from the standpoint that he's not valuable, that he's not good, that he's done, but just because, as you mentioned, they've tied up almost $30 million in wide receivers.
They've got to take the calls. They've got to listen. And I believe that they are. But here's the thing. If your goal is to get faster and more athletic on the perimeter and add playmakers to your roster, you're going backwards if you're dealing Odell Beckham Jr. You're not going to get a player in return of his caliber, his playmaking ability. I mean, just turn on the Dallas Cowboy tape. That reverse really should go down as one of the best plays in recent Browns football history. It was just electric. He single-handedly won that game for them. And there's not a third to sixth round talent in the NFL draft that can do something like that. Now, if they can get a first round pick for Odell and all of a sudden they're picking two players in the first round and they can add, anyone from Waddle to Rashard Bateman in these list of first round wide receivers, then now we're talking. Now I'm pretty intrigued. But if Odell commands, like a second and a third and maybe a player, I understand the depth, but now we're talking a change in the Browns window. You take a championship step back, getting rid of Odell Beckham Jr. and not at least getting a first round pick back for him. I think Odell Beckham Jr. stays on this team, and selfishly, I just want to see if he can finally gel with Baker Mayfield now that this new Baker looks to be in complete control and command of the offense. And I think Odell would have made some critical plays for them down the stretch, and he was robbed of that because of his injury. The first 4 or 5 weeks in the next season are going to be really telling if Odell's on this team, and I'd be surprised if he isn't making impact plays immediately. But for the original question, I'm sure Andrew Berry's taking all those calls. It's his job to do his due diligence there. But if it's not a first coming back, then I don't think you can part with Odell Beckham.